The Michigan Renaissance Festival is about to begin. Tell us which OC TV show you're watching and we'll send you a limited number of tickets while supplies last. Just send a self-addressed stamped envelope to 1775 North Lapeer Road and we'll get them back to you. See you there. Huzzah!
A motion by Helmut.
Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in the village, the township. You know, those government people that make laws and regulations, that affects you out there.
That's right, Elgin. And whether you live in the village of Oxford, the village of Leonard, Addison Township, or Oxford Township, these are the people that you went and elected last year, and, well, you might again this year, or someone different. And the committees and the commissions that make decisions that directly affect you, whether you chose to go to that meeting or not. And the result can be a taxing situation.
Sure, and it can be humorous.
Yes, it can.
And it can have rumors.
Rumors?
It would be he that would set most of the rumors, folks, so keep an eye on him.
Which goes to say that most of what we say is true.
Most of what we say is true. And that brings me to a correction before we get into this. I think at the last session we had mentioned that NOTA had a tax coming forward, but we didn't define what it was really.
A renewal or an increase.
Right. It's a renewal. It's not an increase. It's just a renewal due to the Headley Amendment situation. Right?
I think you Headleyed that off at the
we
pass.
Headleyed it off, right. We did do that. Okay, so I want to make that comment first, and then we're going to go to two meetings that we're going to cover. First one is the Oxford Village Council, and that was on July 24th. And the second one is the Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting. Now, that's the township.
Yep.
Now, we're going to talk about the Oxford Village to begin with. Sue Bassarded is the chair. Helmuth serves on that board, Maureen. Dave Bailey is on the board, and Joe Frost serves on the board. Eric Dolan is also on this board, but he was absent at this particular meeting on the 24th. And Joe Madur, of course, is the village manager, and he was there. And the new clerk, Terry Onika, was there taking the minutes.
Terry Onika?
Onika.
Okay.
Yep, very Unica, right?
Why, sure.
Okay, so the first thing they did is preliminaries, of course, the Pledge of Allegiance, and the agenda for July 24th was approved, and the public comment, not items on the agenda. First person to stand up was Kathy Dunning, and she's a local resident, and she took objection to the snow removal ordinance that they're working on with the village council level, and she felt that the fines that they were looking at were excessive to shovel the walks.
Is she a business person or a private individual?
No, and that's the point that was brought up, that it's a residency.
Thought I'd zero in on that.
Right. But actually, she was concerned, and she should be too, that it involves ordinances for the people living in the village also, regardless if you're business or not. But I think there would be stiffer fines down the road here for businesses that don't clear their sidewalks from a safety standpoint. But I think that they're also going to establish certain hours in which sidewalks have to be cleared. For example, if the inspector comes by and snow is 2 feet high and next day it's 3 feet high, next day is 6 feet high, it continues to grow, I'm sure that they'll be knocking on your door to find out what's going on, and there could be a fine levied at that point. Her objection, of course, was that the fine that they're looking at to begin with is $50 fine, which she thought was excessive. And it would be excessive in her eyes because the existing fine would be $15, so big jump. And then for a repeat offender, it goes to $150.
Is that the same fine that was applied to businesses?
No, and that was brought up. As a matter of fact, Joe Frost said, I don't think that this should apply, to the residency as opposed to the businesses, that the businesses should have a stiffer fine, that they don't concur with it because of the safety issues involved on the street. Okay, or on the sidewalk, not the street. They won't. Well, the problem was that the point was made that at last winter, the sidewalks were so bad in the village that people were actually walking on the street. So that can't happen from a safety standpoint. They just don't want it to reoccur. So
was this in front of residences or businesses?
Businesses.
Okay.
So there's going to be some issues there. Now, the second person that wanted to speak was Rose Bema, and she's the chair, the new chair for the Zoning Board of Appeals. And she wanted to point out that there is a vacancy on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And we'll discuss that a little bit further down the line, so don't leave us here. We're going to talk about the Zoning Board of Appeals and who that person would be. Consent agenda was approved, and minutes for June 10th were also approved. And then the next thing you know what's coming is bills. And the bills were $211,158.41. Now, I'm not going to tell you to write a check because you keep taking these and put them on that stack of yellows over there.
I know.
So, and they never get taken
But
care
that's a
of.
significant amount of money.
Hey, it is significant, $250,000, just about, pretty close.
Yep.
Okay, so anyway, this guy's our accounting guy. He caught on to that really quick. Okay, anyway, presentation, there were no presentations, so we're going to move along. Public hearing, snow removal ordinance, here we are again. Kathy Dunning again spoke about her concerns, and Helmuth, Maureen Helmuth, councilwoman Helmuth, she said that the sidewalks need to be cleared, and there's no ands, ifs, or buts about it, that it's a major concern, particularly with downtown sidewalks, and we discussed that a wee bit at the
So
beginning.
if someone slips in front of a house on a sidewalk, whose responsibility is it?
It would be the responsibility of the homeowner. If
Is the
legality.
sidewalk itself the property of the homeowner?
it is the property of the homeowner. In many cases, villages will, if you have a bad sidewalk, you would pay as a resident half of the expense to have the sidewalk repaired or replaced. And the village used to, I don't know if they do now, but I would think they would, replace the other part of it.
Okay.
So that's the way it has worked in historical ways. I it may change, so that could be one of those rumors. Would you like to state that?
I'll write it down and put it on my notes.
All right, that sounds good then. Joe Frost said that, again, that businesses, he thinks it should be higher, but less for the residents. As far as looking at the cost of the tickets or the, I call them bills if they give you one of those, because you got to pay it.
Did they ever check what other communities do?
They have. They went through that process. And actually, Joe Madur, the village manager, has done all that research.
And that's a comparable fine?
It is. And actually, Bob Davis, who's the attorney, got more deeply involved in it. And this is what they came up with.
Okay.
But there's going to be adjustments to it, folks. And if you want to have your say in this, which you should as a resident, show up one of these meetings or write a letter, which will get read, during the next meeting coming up. But, don't disregard it because that's how things happen. Let me see, can you say a $1,500 fine for not removing snow?
Oh.
Not a good idea. Okay, that could happen though, so keep an eye. Another complaint that came up was this lady's husband. And she said, I have a real complaint. He said, not only the snow, but he said, I have a problem. He said, I work late and then I have to leave at 4 in the morning. So he said, if the snow has to be removed, he said, is there an ordinance in terms of noise? He said, for my snow blower, let's say at about 3 in the morning. And the answer was that probably is. So he said, well, again, the times in which these snow removal requirements are needed for we, the residents, need to be stipulated, such that we can do it.
And they currently aren't?
They are not at this point. This is a whole new ordinance that they're going to generate.
Okay.
And we'll talk more about these new ordinances when we come back right after this, folks. Don't go away. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we are talking about the Village of Oxford Village Council meeting, aren't we?
We sure are.
Okay. The next subject that came up we were talking about is this gentleman stood up and he says, hey, snow is an issue. He said, I would agree with that. But he said, garbage cans, they're a real issue. He said, if you go to Oxford Lakes subdivision, he said, on any given day, in front of the homes, you'll find garbage cans. Not little ones, big ones. And he said, I don't know if there's an ordinance for that, but he said, that should be corrected.
Well, are they out there to be picked up by the garbage disposal
No,
people?
he says they're there forever.
What?
He said not only for the day the garbage is picked up, but every day. So the point was that they should check on this as far as a particular ordinance, and I'm pretty sure there is an ordinance because I recall getting involved in one a couple of years back when I was on the council. And that being the case, I'm sure that somebody will take issue with this. And as a matter of fact, Joe Madure, the village manager, took a note and he said, I'll follow up on this.
It's kind of a tough one, though, because different people have different, although this is in the village, isn't it?
This is in the village.
So you have a single contract.
You have a single contract.
Okay, so never mind.
Where are we going with that one?
Well, in the township, people can contract with anyone they want, which means that on any given day, it could be a different person putting out their garbage.
Or they can
And
do it
that
like,
would be a lot harder to control.
right, or they can do it like you do over in Brandon. Just dig a big hole and throw it in there.
We don't do that.
Oh, I forgot their water table is quite high. That's true.
We don't do that.
Right. Come floating up to the top every spring. Okay. Anyhow, so that issue will be looked at. For you folks over in Oxford Lakes, if you have your garbage cans out front, I suggest you move them. And I think the biggest issue is that their garages are so packed full of stuff that they can't even put their cars inside. That could
Well,
be
that's
an
what
issue.
garages are for. You create an empty space and fill it.
Is that what it is? Well, now they're going to have to fill it with garbage. Because
Just make a little room.
I think that might work. Okay, motion was approved for the first reading of the snow removal ordinance. And there's 15 days in which it has to be posted for the reading and so forth, the next reading. So that motion was approved, and it's going to go forward. There will be adjustments, so it's not as written or dictated at this point. Okay, appointment to Planning Commission, here we go. Leslie Pilax is the young lady that has applied for this position, and the position is being filled by Scott Jones, who is resigning due to health issues. So, I'll give you a little background on Leslie. She's the museum director for Birmingham Museum. She's been a resident in Oxford for 4 years. They've been remodeling a home here, and it's pretty much completed, and I understand it's a beautiful home. It's one of the older homes. She has a master's degree from Eastern Michigan University. Her term ends in 2018 because she's filling Mr. Jones' slot. Well, you know, and then she has to be reappointed. So it's kind of a two-step thing.
Oh, okay.
And reappointed, of course, by the Planning Commission. Planning Commission makes reference to the person filling that seat and sends it to the village council. And that's where it ended up in this case. And it was approved by the village council to go forward and have her seated.
Okay.
So she will be the new member on the Oxford Zoning Board, or not Zoning Board, but Planning Commission.
All right. A
Actually-
slot is filled.
Huh? Right. Let me see, what else do we have here? Okay, Oxford TAP was asking for car wash capability for cheerleaders team or cheer team for the school, in which they're raising funds for uniforms, and that was approved as well.
Would that be out back or in front?
That would be out back.
Okay.
Depends on how you want to look at it. Now, lakefront is kind of interesting because the lakeside is actually the front of the building. The back side on the roadside is considered the back,
Which has the front door.
which has the front door. So it's rather interesting, isn't it? Okay, let me see, what else we got here? They looked at a phone system, a village phone system that needs to be replaced. Joe Madure says antiquated. It's like 2 tin cans in a string. He said it needs to be fixed. So he did make a recommendation for a company to look at. Avaya is the name of the
They did
company.
that several years ago.
No, that was an update to the 911 equipment at that time.
Okay.
And interesting enough, the
Are you sure?
911 was closed. Oh, yeah, I was on the board then. But anyway, interesting thing is that they were being charged or billed $742 per month by AT&T. And they can actually get this system for $268 a month, which includes installation and maintenance included. So there's a tremendous savings by going this route. However, Maureen Helmuth says, hold it. I have an objection. They said, okay, what is it? They said, well, first of all, it's only one bid. You need to get 3 bids. And second of all, you need to look at local people for this phone system. This guy, apparently, or this company is not within this area. So
How about AT&T?
AT&T is, yeah, they're out of this area, aren't they? But they're in this area. How'd they do that?
They're everywhere.
The great whodunit, AT&T. Okay. So anyway, so it was eventually approved that this is what's going to happen, is that Mr. Maduro will have to go back, our village manager, and get 2 additional bids for this. And he said what's unpopular with him is the fact that he did send information out, to get the bids, but nobody responded. He said they're not in a timely manner. So he said that concerned him, and
Well, it sounds like
rightfully should.
Although, even though it sounds like a bargain, you really got to check on the reliability.
Right. Now, the next thing that came up is public comment. No public comment. Village manager report, a couple of things. He said the new LED lighting has been installed. As you recall, we did talk about that before. Water quality report has been posted. And by the way, you'd be happy to know that we have one of the best water sources within the state of Michigan. So your water is safe.
Is that for the amount or the quality?
The quality and the amount. There's plenty of water. We could actually sell the water because they have so much. But the quality is superb. Insurance, they changed the insurance companies, and that's working quite well, he said. They're still taking care of some old issues with the old insurance company for the employees. And it's getting taken care of step by step. Chamber wants to move their location. Actually, they're moving their offices only, staying within the same building. They're going to take the office that DDA has right now, and Glenn Pape said the office is too large for him and should work for Chamber of Commerce.
So where'll he go?
He's going to go take their office, which is considerably smaller.
Oh, okay.
Just going to be a change. Be a little bit of an impact in terms of the price that Chamber will be paying, but it also includes their telephone service.
So filing
to that
cabinets will be
office.
passing each other in the
They will
hallway.
be passing each other as 2 ships in the dark night, or whatever it goes. Okay, Mike Sowell, the police chief, stood up and he said, I want to just recap the situation about the complaint we had in the past about a 2-hour delay response on a call
I remember that.
to Oxford Lake Park concerning a possible drug deal going down. He said that he checked 60 days in terms of records from police records. There was nothing there to show that. And he said that the complaint was through Eric Dolan, Councilman Dolan. And when he contacted Councilman Dolan, he said that he tried to get the name of the person who complained to Dolan, and Dolan would not release that information to him. So he said, we really can't determine exactly what happened. What we suspect is the individual contacted a local police officer at his home. And the point was made there directly after is that if you folks have an issue, don't contact the councilman, contact the police department, 911. And Mike Sowell, the chief, said he will talk to you personally if you want to do that. And he said if you want to be anonymous, when you call, make sure that you make that statement at the beginning of the conversation. He says, and they'll be respected. So that's where we are on the village council at this point. We will talk more when we come back right after this. Welcome back, Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we've pretty much wrapped up the village council meeting, except I want to make a statement that the election coming up shortly, that there's 3 people running for council. Joel Frost.
That would be the primary.
It would be the primary. Thank you. Maureen Helmuth and Kate Logan, new person on the agenda.
Okay, that
Sue Bassardet will not run again. She made that statement.
Okay.
So she will not be on the village council after this next primary. Okay, actually I think that it goes on the election. Actually, the actual election, I don't think they have a primary
Why not?
runoff if there's only 3 people, because there's no opposition.
Oh,
So we'll have to see, won't we? That could be a rumor. You want to spread it?
vote for 3 only. There's only 3, so there you go.
Right. And Maureen Helmuth, she says, well, that's good for me. But they said
But
we
they have
should-
no opponents?
Nope. And that's the problem, folks. You folks need to get involved with the government there and local government. And you think about running for office, there should be at least 5 people running, I would think, for these posts. Okay. That being said, that takes care of the village council. Let's talk about the Oxford Township Planning Commission meeting, July 26th. Mr. Young serves as the chair. Berger is on that board, but he was absent for this particular one. Jack Curtis is on the board. Ed Hunwick, Mr. Knowles serves on it. Kelly Rossner Myers is on the board, and Mike Spiz, who was absent also.
No. Mike is also a county commissioner.
He is. A very good one, too, I want
Yeah.
to say.
He's
And
up for re-election.
Yeah, and he's running unopposed as well. So he should, with a little bit of luck, Mike, you should get it. Okay. Deanna Cushing was filling in as the recorder for the evening. And she, of course, is the assistant supervisor of the township. Deputy, yep. And she does a great job. Talk about people. Pledge got out of the way. Agenda approved. Minutes for June 14th, 2018 was approved. Public comments, 3 minutes to speak. Items not on the agenda. Bruce Myers, he spoke about, hey, he said, you guys are building a senior center down in Seymour Lake area in the park? He said, who approved that? $200,000. He said, I read the Leader, the Oxford Leader, and they say there's $200,000 available for it. He said, I don't recall anybody voting for it. And anyway, it is what it is, and there has been money appropriated for it, and it's been discussed many, many times. The location that they had in downtown, of course, was sold, and the money was used for that purpose to build this. And Ron Davis and his team has built buildings very inexpensively by using local labor and not only volunteer labor, but also materials in a lot of cases. So anyway, he's doing a pretty good job on that. But this is an issue that Mr. Myers brought up and need to be highlighted probably at this point. Commissioners' comments. Callie Rossner Myers, she said, complaint about small signs. And she questioned, the legality of some of the small signs. She also questioned political signs, which you don't have any control over political signs. That's control both federal and state. So freedoms of speech, that kind of thing. You have a certain amount of time that you can keep a political sign up, and a certain amount that needs to be removed.
Especially after the election.
Yep, you don't want to keep it up there for a year or two. Not a good idea. Public hearing. First public hearing was proposed amendments to zoning ordinance. A minor amendment to require a petitioner to write written responses to the rezoning criteria as part of the rezoning application submittal. Okay, they can they have to put a written response to it within their application. The next one was the next amendment to add solar energy systems. Now there's a new one. Seems like a lot of people are putting solar energy systems in now. And with that addition of new section, they have to add it, is a solar energy systems to clarify purpose, applicability, type of system that's being used, general requirements, and other approvals are required for that. And those were all added, to the amendments. Okay, and that was all approved. Unfinished business, none. New business, settlement of the Manitou proposed second and third amendments to the site condominium documents. Property line shifts. Now you recall that there was a mistake on the Oakland County level on this in its recording.
Oh.
And it just got caught up to it, and it's just a matter of making it right. And so it was approved. There was quite a discussion from Callie Rossner as to how this even happened. Deanna Cushing actually provided a very clear explanation as how the county misrecorded the lot lines. And she did a great job of presentation on that and took care of that, I think, question. So, final site plan, Seymour Lake Road Township Park. Ron Davis spoke, and he has a request approval for 3,010 square feet addendum to the site plan, which TV station is expanding the space.
That'll be a senior center, and next to it will be
Next
the station.
to it will be the station, yes. And there was some discussion about parking spaces and that kind of thing too. But also the main topic that came up was the safety path. As you know, any new structure is required to have a safety path, or in lieu of a safety path, usually will provide finances set in escrow until
Right.
the path is actually built, right?
Right.
Well, in this case, Ron Davis is looking for a waiver. And he said the reason for the waiver, and rather than take these monies and set them aside, is if you build this path, which is eventually going to go down the Baldwin Road, but right now ends at Dunlap Street,
On the other side of the road.
right on the other side of the road. And according to the master plan, they're going to run to Baldwin Road. But he said if he's forced to put a safety path kind of through that swampy area and along the where the new building, where OCTV is going to be,
Why would they
he
do
said
that?
that'd be a path to nowhere.
Because the path is on the other side of the road.
The path is actually ends down to Baldwin or Dunlap Road. So he says, why would you want to do that? He said, better thing to do is just wait. He said, now, if you wait for the path for 10 years, he said, just the maintenance alone, if you do it now, will cost you a lot of money. He said, I happen to know that the township appropriated $100,000 to maintain the path and the existing path that's going on right now. So he said, what would happen, he said, would be an increase. He said, to keep this path maintained, that's going nowhere. So his point was very well taken, I thought.
I think that 10-year parameter relies on the fact that houses will be built, they'll be required to put a path in front of their house. Is that correct?
It is correct. That's usually what happens. And this is, they feel that there shouldn't be any variation between what residency are required to do and also businesses or nonprofits are to do as well. But
It has to be
it's
on
your
the same
money.
side of the road.
Yeah, I have news for you folks. It's your money. So if you want to put a path to nowhere for
So if they
and it's
continued that
thousands and
path-
thousands of dollars
Well,
to
if
do
they
it.
continued that path, just theoretically, out to where let's say to Baldwin
Mm-hmm.
Road, they would be crossing other people's property.
Yep. And then those people are forced to pay for that,
Even whether they have a house
Yep.
or not.
if they have a house or not, if they have property. That's the way it's going to work, I think. But anyway, so to make a very long story short, is Kelly Rossner felt that they should do this path, and everybody else disagreed because, as I pointed out, it's your money, and let's hold it, not spend the money if we don't have to do that. And so it was approved that the waiver was approved. So pretty good move on their part. Jim Sharp, he summarized the site plan requirements, and as far as location, what it's going to be address-wise, A, B, and C. And the waiver, as I said, was approved with the eventual 8-foot wide safety path. In other words, approved with conditions down the line.
I see.
So what's coming up?
Well, we do have a lot of meetings. On 8/13 at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township ZBA will be meeting, or maybe not. So check on that. And at 7 o'clock on the 13th again, Village of Leonard Council. On 8/14 at 6 o'clock, the Addison Township Planning Commission. And at 6:30 that same day, the Village of Oxford Council. And at 6:30 that same day, Oxford School Board will be meeting at the board offices. And on 8/15 at 3 o'clock, the Pollyant Trail will be meeting in the Orion Township offices. And on 8/16 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Leonard Planning Commission. And the NOTA meeting, which was scheduled for 8/16, is canceled.
You're right, there's a lot of meetings. I'm Elgin Nichols, this is Minute by Minute.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
Catch you next time right here.
See you then.